All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this Wednesday briefing. We haven't spoken in a week, and this has been a tough week in many ways. We've now lost 33 Calgarians to this disease. Of that, an absolutely devastating 21 individuals from the Mackenzie Town Long Term Care Facility. And I start every time we come together with that tally, but I want to really stop and think about that for a moment because I know for a lot of folks, it's been a month now. Tomorrow marks a month, I believe, since we enacted the state of local emergency. No, I think it's today, actually, a month since we enacted the state of local emergencies and asked you to make this sacrifice to stay home. And I know after a month, it can be tough. Cabin fever is setting in a little bit. Hopefully, the weather is getting nicer, maybe. We've had 7 fake springs so far. Um, but I know that a lot of folks are starting to chafe a little bit, and I just want to remind you of why this is so important. This weekend, I read something that was unbelievably moving. It was an article in the New York Times where the columnist Nicholas Kristof had the opportunity to spend 2 days in the hospitals in New York that are the hardest hit. And here's the thing: I've lived in New York. It's one of my favorite places. When I'm lucky, I get there once a year for a theater and see friends and eat great at great restaurants weekend. I know the streets, I know the place. And while I was reading this thing, it was hard. It was really tough. I had to look away from the screen on more than one occasion so I just couldn't go on. But when I understood that in that place that is so similar to this place, that is developed, that is wealthy, that is a community that wants to look after one another, and how this got out of control, the thing that touched me the most about that was that a senior emergency room doctor had sent a note to the other ER docs who are so young, right? They're residents, they're in their 20s, and they're dealing with this. And he sent them a note telling them how to deal with COVID patients. And the note ended by saying, "There's 2 things I need you to do, no matter how hard it is. I need you to hold their hands while they pass so they know they're with somebody. And when they pass, I know how busy you are, and I know you got to get to the next patient, but I need you to ask everyone to be quiet for 5 seconds and just say the person's name." Imagine that. All they can afford someone at the moment of their passing is 5 seconds of dignity. And they're working so hard to give them those 5 seconds before they have to go on to the next patient. That's why we're doing this. And everyone's got different reasons for doing this. Everyone has thinking about their grandma or thinking about their child who's immunocompromised or thinking about people who might have pre existing conditions. But I think it's really important for us to remember that while we are working so hard to create some normalcy for our families and our coworkers and in the lives we live, it's important for us to remember why and why this is so important. And I want to say that Calgarians, that citizens, have done such an extraordinary job of creating connectivity in this time of physical distancing, of really looking after one another. And we cannot let up now. We absolutely cannot let up now. We've heard from the province that their modeling shows that we'll hit the peak in a month's time. We don't know if that's 2 weeks early or 2 weeks late, but we know there is still the worst to come. There will still be more cases. There will still be more serious cases. There will, I'm sorry to say, almost certainly be more deaths. And the only thing that makes that better is not the great work that the Calgary Emergency Management Agency does. It's not me giving speeches at this podium. It's every single one of us taking that responsibility into our own hands. When we have a flood, we can't control the water. In this pandemic, we can control the spread of the disease. Each of us can do it individually. And I have been so heartened, and I'll talk more about that later, by the extraordinary generosity of Calgarians, by the incredible work that Calgarians have been doing to look after one another. And this is work that we need to continue to do. When I come back at the end, I'm going to talk about the three filters that the City of Calgary is really using and we should all be using to think about the actions we're taking. You've heard me say before that in clean hands, clear heads, open hearts, clear heads means we have to be purposeful and directional in every decision that we make. And that direction means looking at physical health, looking at mental health, looking at economic health. Think of three gauges and how every action you take has an impact on one or more of those gauges. And how do we balance those and how do we prioritize those? And I think that's a helpful way for all of us to think about the work that we're doing here together. So with that, I'm joined this morning or this afternoon, as always, by Chief Tom Sampson, the Chief of Calgary Emergency Management Agency, who has a number of updates for you. We're also joined today by Karen Young, the President and CEO, is that right, or just CEO? President and CEO of the United Way of Calgary, who has some very exciting news about a way that you can be more generous and be supported in doing that by the government of Alberta. And then I will come back. I have quite a bit today, and then we will, as always, open it up for questions. So with that, let me turn it over to Chief Sampson. Tom?
Thanks, Your Worship. I love the compassionate words you used, and nothing more to say than ditto. I just cannot emphasize what we're all feeling enough and how appreciative we are of those who are working so hard to make a difference in what's unfolding. We'd like to remind you that we're under a state of local emergency, and that will be renewed today for another 7-day period. We'll be looking in the future to renew it for a longer period of time, but that requires some changes to the Emergency Management Act. So at this point in time, we keep sort of bumping along the roads a little bit in a weekly increment time frame. So knowing that the majority of cases of COVID-19 are that are occurring in this province are occurring in Calgary, I want to underscore the mayor's message that we need to keep our foot on the gas. This is not a time to let up. It's not a time to dramatically change what you've been doing. To those of you who have taken the right steps, I just can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I had the opportunity to go to the store last night, and I thought it was so interesting how people moved around each other and the common courtesy that was shown. That's who Calgarians are. And you've done some great steps. We saw people on the long weekend, Easter weekend, get together with their family by video or just a simple telephone call, those sorts of things. In our house, bringing your device to the table is taboo. I got to admit, I kind of do it a lot. But, we had dinner with friends and they weren't there, but they joined us via that video conference call, and it's felt so foreign, right? Because I'm not supposed to have my iPad there, but there we were talking to friends right at the table while we all enjoyed dinner. And yes, I did have a glass of wine. I was off, but it's just such a great thing, and I thank you for what you're doing. Because for whatever reason your driver is, you're making a difference, and we will together. We can push this down, but it's very, very difficult. Last week, we heard the Prime Minister say that it'll take some time to develop a vaccine, and we concur. That vaccine is a way away, and we know that represents a long time frame, maybe even a year. What we have to do to manage this is break this time frame into chunks and manage that chunk of time that we're in. So I'm managing right now in my mind. I can assure you that we're looking at long range planning, but I'm working in a chunk of time until June 30th. And all the things that have to happen in that time frame. And then when that spring has kind of gone through, I'll manage the summer chunk. But by sectioning it for myself, I know that I can deal with each piece, and it's a manageable piece for me. So we're recalibrating to a new norm, and I think we all acknowledge that. You only have to open the media, and everything is about COVID. But this is also about recalibrating ourselves and helping ourselves along this route. There's been a lot of discussion lately around the use of masks. And Dr. Theresa Tam, who frankly is just doing a great job, as well as our own Dr. Dina Henshaw, just great work. But they said wearing a non-medical mask, even if you have no symptoms, is a measure you can take to protect those around you. I think that's a great plan. And I know that we in the city are attempting to get sort of the cottage craft community to start making masks for people, and they're doing a great job. But we're also, contracting to find face coverings for staff where they wish to wear it. So even if you are wearing one of those face coverings, just remember that that really protects protects others from you, so you don't cough as far, you don't sneeze as far, those sorts of things. And it doesn't eliminate the fact that you should maintain your distancing, that 2 meter distancing that we've talked about. Strongly encourage you not to buy N95 masks, those that are intended for our medical community. Whilst our premier did a great thing and sent some masks away to some other communities, we know that the mask production right now is not where it needs to be for N95 masks, and we need to leave those for our frontline providers and our healthcare providers in the system. So again, I mentioned that I was out at the store last night, and let me tell you what I was impressed with. The store that I was at, the ground was clean, but we have been getting reports that the people are taking their PPE off after they've been in the store, their gloves, their mask, and throwing it to the ground. And so I'm going to say that where I went last night, that's where Calgarians go. That's what Calgarians do. You are people who don't usually leave your trash behind. So help us out. Don't be vigilantes in the parking lot, but do help us out by ensuring that when you peel off that PPE and you clean up your hands before you get in your car, that sort of thing. Just stuff it in a bag. Have a plan about how you're going to deal with it in advance so that you don't have to leave it behind. We'd really appreciate that. The littering doesn't work for anybody. It's not really what we do as Calgarians. Um, if I can switch for a moment, because I'm going to invite our friend Karen Young up on stage. But we know that COVID-19 has affected many Calgarians, especially the most vulnerable amongst us. And there has been some absolutely great work done by our City of Calgary, Calgary Neighborhoods Group, but I'll tell you that they actually don't ever operate alone. It's the community that's out there, it's the volunteer community, it's places like the United Way that we get a lot of our assistance from. So between now and May 31st, we advise that the province will be matching donations up to $2 million to a number of charitable organizations in the Calgary area responding to the pandemic. And those include the United Way, as I just mentioned, COVID-19 Community Response Fund, and the Calgary Foundation COVID-19 Pandemic Recovery Fund. The important thing that I think, here's what I feel. I am fortunate to have a job right now. I will be donating because what I know is that money stays in our community. It helps those in our community, and it's also leveraged. I love it when my money's leveraged. So right out of the chute, it's leveraged 2 to 1. But then it's also leveraged by going out to those appropriate agencies in the community that can make a real difference to our vulnerable Calgarians. So just I can't understate the importance of taking care of Calgary. So Karen, if you'd come up, that would be appreciated.
Good afternoon, everyone. I really wanted to start off by thanking Mayor Nenshi and Chief Tom Sampson for their leadership. If it wasn't for you standing up here, inspiring us and encouraging us to do the right thing by physical distancing and reminding us that it's not about us, but it's about all of us, and that together our neighbor's strength is our strength, we wouldn't be where we were today. Every day we look forward to hearing from you and knowing how we're coming together as a community to make a difference to stop this global pandemic crisis in Calgary. We know that this is really impacting people across Alberta, especially our most vulnerable. And that's why United Way is working collaboratively with CIMA, with the City of Calgary, with Alberta Health Services, with my colleague Eva Friesen from the Calgary Foundation, who's already brought $1 million to the table for our COVID response. I'm very proud to stand before you today and let you know that we've already gotten over 2.26 million out the door. to our agencies on the ground who are working tirelessly every day to make sure that our seniors are cared for, that our vulnerable youth are cared for, that our people who are homeless are cared for, have the food and the shelter that they require so that they can get through this crisis with us. Also, on the weekend on Easter Sunday, I thought I'm going to celebrate Easter on Saturday this weekend. And I actually designed a scavenger hunt for my 21-year-old daughter because you're trying to get some regular routines in place and still being able to celebrate. So we did that on Saturday because on Sunday, we were busy with the government of Alberta as they made a great decision to actually come up with this $2 million matching fund that kicks off today, April 15th, and goes through May 31st. And what's great about that is it will be actually funneled to the Calgary Foundation and the United Way of Calgary and area in our city, as well as across Alberta with other United Ways and community foundations. So we know that when we work together with all levels of government, the federal government, we let you know that they gave 265,000 to vulnerable seniors. The provincial government now making this announcement, all the collaboration with Calgary Neighborhoods and CEMA, we are really collaborating on a coordinated response. So I wanted to thank Minister Leela Sharon Aheer, the Minister of Culture, Multiculture and Status of Women, and the MLA Jeremy Nixon, who's the parliamentary secretary to the Community Services Minister, for coming forward to make that announcement on Easter Sunday. We know that the needs are great as we get through the crisis, and we know that we also need to work together through the recovery. I wanted to let you know that some of our great supporters, like the Calgary Flames Foundation, NMAX, Shell, are really coming forward to help lift us up during this time. And in fact, right after this, I'm going to receive 500 Chromebooks for vulnerable youth so that they can continue with their studies thanks to the Calgary Flames Foundation and make sure that they can graduate from high school. We're collaborating with the two school boards to get these to 500 kids that really need the support right now. So these are the types of things that we're making a difference on. I know people like to have competition, so you do get a double match if you think of making a donation to either Calgary United Way or the Community Foundation, and we will make sure that it gets to the top priorities that our city is facing right now. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. And I think it's just amazing that money contributed by Calgarians goes to Calgarians. I mean, it's a way of us all saying we're here for you. And Karen took my notes, so I'm going to go on. They can come back this way. A couple of things. It is. I apologize, folks. Um, okay, so here we go. There's a tip, never leave your notes up on the stage. So I apologize. It is National Telecommunicators Week. And these are the folks that are taking care of our police, our firefighters, our paramedics, even our bylaw officers. And each one of them is asking special questions of the callers to say, is there COVID in the house? Giving you instructions before those crews arrive. They're really the first of many of the first responders, right? And they have been doing an absolutely brilliant job. They've been split into two sites. They're doing self checks, consistent with what Alberta Health Services is doing. They're doing everything that they can, and they get salted away sometimes, and they get put off in these rooms where they handle all these incredibly complex calls, and they're not recognized for it. Some of you, for a period of time, when you couldn't get through to 811, you were calling 911. They just managed it. Please don't call 911 for those problems. They're great people, but call 811 if you need that information. Calgary 911 and its staff who provide that service provide mission critical service to Calgarians, and we're so proud of them. This is their week, and we celebrate with them. So with that, I'd like to call Mayor Nenshi back up if we can and let him finish the program. Thank you.
Well, thanks very much, Tom. You know that I've been talking in threes a lot since the beginning of this. Clean hands, clear heads, open hearts, stay home, be kind, save lives. So I've got another three for you. And I want to talk today about physical health, mental health, and economic health. So, of course, our number one priority right now is the physical health of Calgarians. Our number one priority is stopping the spread of the virus and making sure we're taking care of those who are ill. And as I've mentioned many, many times, that's in your own hands. It's in your own clean hands. Washing your hands for 20 seconds, singing a Broadway tune for those 20 seconds, that's a preview of something coming up. Covering your cough, all of that is important. Remember, don't act like someone who doesn't want to get sick. Act like someone who's already has the virus and doesn't want to spread it. Now, you see that the province has really stepped up testing efforts. Now, that means that we're going to see very high numbers of new cases because far more people are being tested. But it also means we'll probably understand better than anywhere in the world exactly how the virus is spreading and what the actions we've been taking are and how they can help. So we'll continue to focus primarily on physical health. But I want to talk about the other two today, mental health and economic health. I'll say much more about mental health in the days to come, but that's about being clear headed, right? It really is about ensuring that we understand that mental health problems, whether they feel minor, I feel cooped up, I want to get out, or whether they feel very major, my existing concerns are being exacerbated. We have a lot of people in our community who have mental health and addiction concerns and the complex nexus of that. But let's not forget that 1 in 4 of us will be touched by mental illness in our lives. And it's important for us to remember that any physical health pandemic is also a mental health pandemic. And there's a number of things we need to do. Don't be shy to seek help. If you need help, call 211 right away. Not 311, not 911, not 811, 211. And those people on the other end of that are brilliant and can really refer you to the resources you need. The other thing is remember that our mental health comes both from helping others and from being helped. And so today, when you have a moment, Google Calgary neighbors helping neighbors. And you'll see some very interesting things that my colleagues in Calgary neighborhoods have put together around 3 acts of kindness. For 9 years now, I've been talking about 3 things for Canada, encouraging people to do at least 3 acts of service for their community every year. I'm encouraging you to do 3 acts of kindness during this crisis and making sure that you're looking after your neighbors, your community, and your city in so doing. And there's some resources on there for how you can help. But this is my favorite one. It's Neighbor Bingo. And in Neighbor Bingo, you can see a bunch of community building acts that we get to do together. And I'm a completist. I like to go down a to-do list and tick everything off. I'll watch the entire season of a show, even if it's terrible, because I have to finish it. And so this is a great thing to try to finish. So things on here include commit to 3 acts of kindness, pick up groceries for a neighborhood, join a neighborhood pod, listen to the Calgary Philharmonic, participate in the Glenbow at Home Museum exhibit, participate in the public library's shelf isolation readathon, make cards for seniors. These are great things that together people can do as a family. So again, just Google Calgary Neighbors Helping Neighbors. I primarily today, though, want to talk about the third one, economic health. And I want to tell you a little bit about some of the work the city and council are doing to support businesses in the community. Now more than ever, it is critical that we support Calgary businesses. The research tells us that in a natural disaster, businesses that close their doors, some 30 to 40% of them never reopen. In the flood, we took that down to less than 5%. And it's important that we do the same now to really look after particularly these small and medium-sized businesses in the community. This epidemic has hit our business community very hard in a time when many of them were already very challenged from a tough economy. And so what are we doing at the City of Calgary? Well, number one is advocating to the provincial and federal governments on behalf of Calgary's business community. Cities across Canada have really been pushing for measures like many of the ones you've seen, particularly from the Government of Canada, as well as some from the Government of Alberta, in terms of helping businesses do better. We've helped businesses share tools and resources on how they can do things differently, how they can survive this. We're making progress on all of this. If you are a business owner in Calgary, you can go to calgary.ca/COVID-business. That dash is a bit weird. calgary.ca/COVID-business. That pulls together in one place all of the government supports that are there for you, all the information that is relevant to your businesses. And we have so many great success stories. You know, I'm going to talk in a moment about my friend Julie Van Rosendahl, but she's been working with Calgary restaurants to think a lot about how they can pivot, not just to delivery and takeout, but to do other things. You know, for example, there's a lot of food kind of stuck in the commercial food services system with those suppliers and distributors. And so we've seen some restaurants turn themselves into grocery pantries, take advantage of their buying power and sell things like flour and sugar and yeast that might be difficult to get in other places. So things like that make a real big difference. And I brought a visual aid up here today. So Tom was talking about masks and face coverings a moment ago. And I prefer to use the term face covering so people don't get confused with real N95 masks. But we have heard some advice that if you're going to be in a crowded place, you might want to use a face covering. And so here's a local company called Hippo Hug. And Hippo Hug was badly hit in terms of the work that they normally do, weighted blankets and the like, by COVID. But guess what? They had fabric, they have sewing abilities, and so they've been making these fabric face coverings for people whose day will take them into crowded places. And I think that sort of thing is a great example of businesses that are pivoting and businesses that we can support through all of this work. Which takes us to what you can do. So today we're launching a program we call Support Local YYC. Guess what the hashtag is? Hashtag Support Local YYC. And the idea here is really for us to be able to think about ways that we individually can support local businesses. That's the city uniting with Calgary Economic Development, the Chamber of Commerce, Tourism Calgary, and Calgary's Arts Development, as well as the leaders in our business improvement areas across the city and many, many local businesses. So the idea here is to create connections, to share resources, to highlight positive stories. So what can you do? Buy from local businesses. Buy from local businesses online. Go to the second or third link on that Google search and find the local business. So for example, I know that there are a number of local bookstores that are offering same-day delivery. And certainly you can buy books from them rather than from, shall we say, large online companies that are not based here in Calgary to keep people moving and keep people working. We've talked about purchasing gift cards to use later, ordering takeout or delivery from your local restaurants. By the way, when you're ordering takeout or delivery, contact the restaurant directly first and ask them, what service would you prefer me to use? Because a lot of these third-party services and these apps that people use actually charge the restaurants quite a bit. And if the restaurants have their own local delivery service or their own staff delivering, they actually end up doing a little bit better. So when you want to order from your favorite restaurant, just call them or go to their website and ask them, how do you prefer us ordering pickup and delivery? I like this one. Leave positive reviews of businesses you love on social media. And actually, not just reviews on sites like Yelp, but actually going out and telling people, you know what? I had a great pizza yesterday from such and such a place. Those sorts of things actually make a big difference, and word of mouth is very positive now. And, you know, spread the word about businesses that you know of in the city, even if they're your own business, that are shifting and doing more work online. So we're asking every single person at home to do what you can within your own personal circumstances, understanding time is tough. Times are tough for people to support local YYC. And use that hashtag proudly. Use it often. You can learn more at the City of Calgary website. So that is one initiative, one of many, many initiatives that we're undertaking here at the City of Calgary to really ensure that we are getting through this as we always get through things together. And so I want to underscore what Karen talked about today, which is here's your chance. Those of us who can afford to give, those of us lucky enough to still be working, should give and should give more than we normally would. And your chance now is to support the COVID-19 Support Fund, which is administered by the Calgary United Way in conjunction with the City of Calgary, or the Calgary Foundation, our amazing local community foundation. And your donations will be doubled by the Government of Alberta in an act of great generosity. You know, just last week, last Sunday, I got a call from Calgary entrepreneur and philanthropist Arlene Dickinson. And she said, I want to donate some money to the food bank, but I want to use that as an initiative to try and get other people to donate. So we did a little thing. For every retweet of this, Arlene will donate $1 up to $10,000. And some people said, well, isn't she just going to give $10,000? But the point was to raise awareness. So I'm happy to announce that in under 10 days, we collectively raised $512,000 for the Calgary Food Bank, $500,000 in 10 days. Which means, by the way, because I'm counting that as part of the Mayor's Christmas Food Drive, that finally the Mayor's Christmas Food Drive made more money than the CBC Food Drive, a little happy rivalry that we try every year and I lose every single year. But everywhere we go, there are local heroes. So this morning I had the chance to be on a show. Many of you will know the local celebrity, I guess I'd call him, Dave Kelly, who has a wonderful show called Dave Kelly Live, which he does every few months live in a theater. They've actually been doing the show, Dave Kelly in the Neighborhood, every single morning at 10 o'clock on Facebook. And there's crafts and there's songs. It's quite fun. But every single morning, they ask someone to nominate a community hero. And Tom Sampson was the community hero last week, one of them. And this morning, I got a chance to nominate a community hero, and Tom was already taken. So I had the chance to honor Julie Van Rosendal. And many of you will know Julie because she has shared her love of cooking with many of us. Those Choco Lava cookies are really my undoing, and I have seen so many people making Julie's no-knead bread in a Dutch oven. If only I had yeast, a Dutch oven, and confidence, I might try it, but I have none of those things. So, but that's not why I wanted to honor Julie today. I wanted to honor Julie today because of the incredible community spirit she has always shown. I remember in August 2017 when the world was tearing itself apart with hatred and anger and division. She said the way you fix that is through food, and had a potluck party on St. Patrick's Island that 500 people showed up to. But in this crisis, she's been very focused on the issue of food security. She's been very focused on ensuring that we can take the assets we have, commercial kitchens, supplies of food, and match those to people who are really in dire straits. And we shouldn't live in a country where people are worried about their next meal. But we live in a city where, for a lot of kids, that lunch they get from Brown Bagging for Calgary's Kids at School is the only nutritious meal they have today. And Julie recognized that and got to work on ensuring that we were able to meet nutritional needs of Calgarians through this crisis. And I'm happy to say that community association buildings have reopened as food distribution depots where people can get access to free or low-cost food. And we're working hard on food security through all of this. And those little acts of heroism, of people taking things that I know about, things that I'm passionate about, and converting them into making real change for people, that's community leadership. And that's fundamentally what we need to be celebrating in this place every day. So remember, everyone, clean hands, clear heads, open hearts. Remember all we're asked to do. Stay home if you can, be kind to everyone, and together we'll save lives. So with that, let us go to questions. So operator, why don't you put through the first question, please?
Our first question comes from James Keller of the Globe and Mail. Your line is open.
Hi, there's been lots of questions about the Stampede, and we've had federal and provincial officials, and even earlier in this call, people sort of pointing out that a lot of these physical distancing measures will have to go well into the summer, possibly until we have a vaccine. So I'm wondering if you see any scenario where the Stampede could go ahead, and if the answer is no, then why are we waiting to make that call?
Well, so we have, as you know, put an end to city events and permits for outside events until June 30th. Of course, the Stampede is after that. And of course, we are investigating and looking at the data very, very carefully day to day to determine whether or not that ban needs to be extended. I'm also a very proud member of the board of the Calgary Stampede. And I know that the management and the board of the Calgary Stampede are taking this very, very, very seriously. with public safety as their paramount concern. And they're asking questions similar to the ones that you're asking, which is, can it go ahead? Can we do so in a way that is safe? Is there a different format that might work? Are there different kinds of things we can do? And ultimately, I know that two separate tasks are going on, which is we are evaluating whether or not we need to extend that ban past June 30th, and the Calgary Stampede is evaluating their ability to move forward. And I anticipate that we'll have answers on both of those in the next week or so. All right, next question, please.
Our next question comes from Madeline Smith of the Calgary Herald. Your line is open.
Hey, Mayor and Chief. This question might be for Chief Sampson, not totally sure. We've talked a lot about the strategy going forward with making more room in shelters and having more overflow spaces, but I'm wondering whether there's been any change to the approach to homeless encampments in the city. Are they still being monitored? Are people being cleared out, or how is the city approaching that during the pandemic?
I just looked over at Tom, and neither of us are aware of any particular enforcement changes relating to the encampments. Of course, we are primarily concerned with people's physical health and making sure that physical distancing is happening. So I'm happy to look into that further. I don't have any further information for you today. Did you have a follow-up, Madeline?
Not right now.
Okay.
Keep going.
All right, we'll go to the next question, please.
Our next question comes from Tom Ross of 660 News. Your line is open.
Hi, we have seen Alberta Health Services forced to close down several businesses because they just haven't gotten the message that they need to close down. So in your mind, what do you think is the problem with some of these businesses not getting that message? And we've only seen, I think, 5 businesses in Calgary get those orders. So there's probably a chance that there's more that are operating, just haven't been caught. So how do you mitigate that?
You know, I'll start and then I'll turn it over to Tom, who can talk a little more specifically about it. But I will say, look, the vast majority of businesses, at significant cost to themselves, have been complying with orders around public health. And I think that's really, really admirable. I do think sometimes it's a little bit confusing as to what exactly is allowed and what isn't. So, for example, we had a long conversation earlier this week with council about garden centers. And are garden centers allowed to operate under the current provincial environment? The answer is yes, by the way. But one of the other things is, remember that there's also a generalized exemption in the province's order that says non-essential businesses can operate, non-essential retail businesses can operate if they allow only curbside pickup or delivery. And so I know that a lot of folks have been confused about that as well. So ultimately, I believe that most businesses have been complying very well. Many closed even before they were ordered to because they thought it was the right thing to do for their staff and their customers. It's something I appreciate. But ultimately, that's the nice side of things. There also does need to be an enforcement side. So I'll be the nice guy, and then I'm turning it over to you, Tom.
Thanks. And you know, I guess I'm going to give you a bit of a different story for a second. These are interesting times. And when I see people making what I would consider an error, I think we have to start from that first point of seek first to understand and then to be clearly understood. And I think that if you've read some of the media coverage on that, some of those businesses did think they were doing the right thing, and some needed to be heard. And then, as enforcement agencies are involved, whether it's Alberta Health Services, our Calgary bylaw officers, or even the Calgary Police Service, folks are making themselves understood very clearly as to what the rules are. There will be no end of subtle nuances that are out there. Somebody asked me recently, can I run a boot camp? Well, no, you can't run a boot camp. I'm sorry. It's not any different than a gym. You can't run a boot camp. Well, what if I run a boot camp outside and I keep the social distancing and I do X, Y, and Z? The answer is no at this time. And so I think that we're going to go through that period of time where we're spending a lot of energy trying to get people clarification around special circumstances, and we'll do our very, very best not to let Calgarians down, and we'll do our very, very best when when there are concerns or confusion to straighten that out and provide the appropriate direction to the business at hand. Thanks.
Next question, please.
Our next question comes from Kevin Nimick of CTV. The line is open.
Hi there. This is a question for the mayor. You spoke earlier in response to the Stampede question saying that the board is analyzing if the decision can go ahead and how it would go ahead if the Stampede can go forward or if it has to be canceled. But what do you think as a board member and as a...
If I were not a member of the board of the Stampede and I was just a politician, I would be very happy to answer that question. Given that I am a member of the board, I can't really answer that question today. I will simply say that ultimately those three gauges I talked about, physical health, mental health, and economic health, are what we have to balance off. I know that is a terrible answer to your question, but we will have, I'm sure, many more things to say over the upcoming days. And since that was such a terrible answer, I'll give you the chance to ask a follow-up.
It's unrelated.
Go ahead.
It's going to be warm on the weekend. What is going to be done to allow people to physically distance on our paths and sidewalks? As you know, it's impossible to walk past someone on a sidewalk and give them 2 meters of space. So are more roads going to be cut off so that people can spread out a little more?
Thanks. I love your endless optimism when you start by saying it's going to be warm this weekend. Listen, the weather machine in my office has been working overtime to make sure that the weather is not nice so that we don't have to deal with these physical distancing problems. No, in reality, I do think it's going to be warm this weekend. We'll have a lot more to say about that on Friday as we talk about people making their plans. But ultimately, I want to remind people of something, and I've said this before. The 6 feet or 2 meters or the length of a full-grown llama is if you must go out. It's not a magical amulet that'll keep you safe and allow you to do whatever you want, like go to boot camp. The 6 feet is if you must go out. Ultimately, the safest thing to do is to stay home. And when you go out for your 1 hour of exercise per day in the fresh air, stay in your own neighborhood. Explore the highways and byways and sidewalks of your own neighborhood. And that's actually the best solution to this problem. That said, the experiments with opening up roadways to allow people more space have been very successful. I actually found myself on Memorial Drive doing an essential service yesterday and noted how well people were doing at keeping their physical space with that extra space there. So ultimately, the right answer is, even though the weather's beautiful, don't take that as an excuse to go to popular parks and pathways. Explore your own neighborhood, get working in your yard if you like. But we really do encourage people to stay close to home. All right, next question, please.
Our next question comes from Scott Dipple of CBC. Your line is open.
Mayor, I was wondering if you could provide some guidance in terms of what the city's policy is on leases that it has with many Calgary businesses. Are you providing any relief in terms of their monthly lease payments?
Yeah, we have reached out to every commercial landlord and asked them to be flexible in terms of thinking about how they're dealing with their leases. And of course, we have to set that example as well. I don't know how many folks we have who rent space from the city. I do know it's about $500,000 of revenue for the city. And I know that our teams in facility management and finance are working hard to look at the individual circumstances of those tenants and figure out what we can do. But ultimately, we will try and be as generous as we can, given our responsibilities to our bottom line as well.
Sorry, can you relate that, say, to property taxes? For example, is the department saying, if you can pay, great. If you can give us part, great. If you need to defer, let's talk about your plan.
It really is case by case. There will be some businesses that are just shut down because the facility that they rent from is shut down. And obviously, we would be more flexible with folks like that than with folks who rent space from the city but are able to continue their business. So it really is case by case. All right, next question, please.
Our next question comes from Francis Bula of Globe and Mail. Your line is open.
Oh, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, long time no talk, Francis. Thanks for calling in.
Hi. Sorry, I'm listening to Kennedy Stewart at the same time. It's
I'm much more interesting than the mayor of Vancouver. Come on.
But anyway, I haven't heard anything about Calgary's projections for lost revenue and how they're going to cope with that. I'm sorry if I've missed something, but if you could give me a picture of what's happening with that, I'd really appreciate it.
I sure can. The city of Calgary is looking at lost revenues in the area of $10 to $15 million per week. Should this continue for 6 months, that means that Calgary would be looking at somewhere between 350 probably to $400 million in lost revenue. That is a very, very, very big deal. Ultimately, cities are not able to run deficits. We only have really two sources of income, which are property taxes and user fees. And it's going to be critical that the provincial and or federal governments allow for a financial backstop here. We have to be made whole by the end of the year because we can't easily run deficits. And even if we could, that wouldn't be the right answer because running a big deficit in this year simply means higher property taxes next year. And so ultimately, the federal and provincial governments really, they have a lot to do. And I'm not being critical. You know, they've got very serious priorities in keeping people alive and healthy and fed. But ultimately, we are going to have to look at aid to municipalities as a major part of the overall financial aid packages that we're hearing from the other orders of government here. So I could go much, much more about it. You've written about this, I think, already extensively, but we're in exactly the same boat as every other city, particularly as it relates to transit losses.
Any help from the province? I just heard Kennedy like 2 minutes ago saying that the Alberta government is in, can't really provide municipalities with help.
Yeah, the province of Alberta is in a very difficult financial situation themselves. And ultimately, when you think of the finance of this, look, the federal government is able to borrow money at almost zero today, where the interest rates are. So we've never before as cities asked the federal government for assistance with our operating budget. But ultimately, this is going to have to be a federal government solution. All right, I am getting the hook. We are going to take 2 more questions, and I'm going to answer them real fast, or Tom will answer them real fast. So next question, please.
Our next question comes from Rick Bell of the Calgary Sun. Your line is open.
Good afternoon, Mayor. Just following on the Stampede, they have said that they're going to continue to be paused until they receive, quote, further direction from our government partners. So I know you're wearing 2 hats on this story, but
literally, cowboy hat, mayor hat.
Yeah, literally. I mean, what does that mean? That who's going to be giving the direction? Is the city going to basically tell them to shut down or not shut down, or they're able to run, or they're able to go, or they're not able to go? What does that statement mean? And when you're talking about the things they're thinking about, are they hoping to find a way to make the Stampede somehow adaptable to the circumstances we live in?
Yeah.
Or are they hoping that there is a change in the virus situation by the time July 3rd is up?
Thanks, Rick. So, ultimately, obviously, we're in dialogue as the city, talking with everybody, and it could go a number of different ways. So you've seen, for example, the Edmonton Fringe Festival, which is in August, cancel in advance of any government direction. But ultimately, if Tom and his team say, you know what, we cannot have large gatherings through a further time period than June 30th, then that forces their hand. I don't want to be that blunt about it because it's actually a great relationship and we've been having good conversations. The second question, I am going to have to punt on. That really is a question for the Stampede. Thanks, Rick. So we'll go to the last question, please.
There are no other questions on the phone at this time.
Okay, super. They're so happy in the room because they need the room in 5 minutes for another event. So with that, thanks everybody. We'll be back here on Friday. And again, remember, this is in your hands. It's in your clean hands. Clean hands, clear heads, open hearts. Stay home if you can. Be kind to everyone. And together we'll save lives. Thank you all.